Bible translations for Catholics, but especially ones I'm focusing on the manuscript tradition. So, well, you might not think of the King James then as a choice, right? But you can't be without a King James, rooted in the Textus Receptus. The Eastern Church prefers that. Of course, you get the New King James. And there's the Septuagint, a new translation of the Septuagint. So I don't especially like it as a translation, but I do like that, again, it's tapping me into a different textual tradition. And, of course, either of these here, the Revised Standard Version, Catholic Edition, that probably looks quite familiar. That leather, soft, fake leather stuff, I'm pretty impressed. But, or the same thing here with the, so much the same, the Augustine Bible, English Standard Version, Catholic Edition. Comes in a little box there. You're probably familiar with that. So either of those, they're so similar, the RSV or the ESV, both rooted in Nestles. Or the, here's something really unique, Holy Bible from the Ancient Eastern Texts. This is the Lamsus translation from the Aramaic of the Peshitta. So, wow, that is cool. So that is a translation of a translation, but their translation from the Aramaic, they translated into the Aramaic using texts that are presently then extant. Now that's not such a big deal really, because in the New Testament there's really like a 1% difference between readings, and none of which are of anything regarding key doctrinal different distinctions. Okay, here's one, the Jewish Study Bible. So, I got the older version here. So this is the Tanakh translation. And it has lots of commentary in here from, the earlier, the mid, and the later rabbinic traditions. Now here you will find some differences in how they're going to interpret things. You see how they have a lot of notes. But our Jewish, brothers and sisters, they kept the text for us, right? The Old Testament, as we call it, and the Bible, as they call it, and give respect where respect is due, and a lot of it is due to our Jewish brothers and sisters. All right, then, of course, you have to have a Douay Rheims, and can't do without that. That was rooted then, Jerome's translation in the Vulgate. He was quite the radical in doing that, right? Departing from Augustine, who would want it more translated from the Septuagint with the Old Testament. And finally, here's something new. Now this isn't rooted, this is also rooted in the Nestles, I believe, mainly. But it's amazing in that the Net Bible, full note edition, 60,000 notes in there. Now what's interesting about the notes, it's not for like meditation or theology, but rather anytime there are discrepancies regarding how to translate something, or discrepancies whether or not the manuscript is legitimate for translating from, this points it all out and explains it. That's fantastic. Now you can get a nice little version of it, in large print, easy to read, no notes, because all the notes are on the internet. So you could go that route too. But, of course, you can't do without a nice, well, this is the New Testament. I can't wait till the Old Testament version comes out, but Ignatius Catholic Study Bible, New Testament, Second Catholic Edition, RSV. So this I've really appreciated. By Ignatius for their notes, and those notes though would be for regarding theology and some meditation. So that's fantastic. But then what about when you just want to read scripture and it's from a fresh translation, but I especially like this version here going back to 1985. But I just love the way this words things, and because sometimes rather than trying to be so much more word for word like, more meaning for meaning like, without being a crazy paraphrase, And I think this strikes a wonderful balance, and it words things so well, and it brings out meanings that so clearly that I find some other translations don't have the guts to bring them out quite so clearly. Meaning, sometimes I wouldn't want to be reading this from the pulpit if I were a reader. I'm not. Of course, that's not an option for Catholics. But or reading in public or reading to my grandkids sometimes. Not that. But anyway, the New Jerusalem Bible, and I prefer the hard edition, hardback edition, where the text seems to me a little darker, but plenty readable. So that's for the quick whirlwind tour there of Bibles that I recommend for Catholics to have.